Nirvatra by April Thomas. Chapter 2. Tribe? I can't bring harm to my people, she murmured. Nella began shoving their enemy's body toward the edge of the cliff. What are you doing? Her brother asked. We can't take the risk, Nella answered, continuing to bring his body to the edge. She paused for a moment, taking one last look at him. You cannot be who I need or want. This cannot be, she said, slowly pushing him off the cliff. She couldn't look. Standing fully to her feet, she quickly returned to her brother's side, focusing all her attention on his injuries. How do you feel? I think I should ask you that, Nigel. Our family comes before our enemies, not the other way around. She realized he saw through her lies. Being twins caused them to have a much deeper bond than most siblings. Now, I know what you just did. I'm not saying that your love for our people is not admirable, but I hope you are ready for the choice you've just made. What choice did I have? How could this even be? Given a chance, he would have killed us both. It was him or us, and he lost. The Creator never makes a mistake, Nigel groaned, standing to his feet with the help of his sister. We must get you home as soon as possible, she ordered, leading her brother toward home. It was not an easy hike back to their village, but tears of joy flooded their eyes when they arrived. Their parents were the first ones to approach them. Menina, a spiritual leader of her people, quickly took hold of her son. Blood covered his back and chest, and his face was pale. Their father and respected war leader of the tribe helped his son into the healing hut. They guided him towards a wooden bed while his mother immediately began to mix herbs and chant healing prayers over her son. Nala, what happened, and where are the others? Taka, her father, questioned while looking over his daughter for injuries. Our hunting camp was raided by the Nava, she informed him. Gasps traveled throughout the hut. We all scattered like you taught us, father. I do not know what happened to the others. Taka stepped away, staring off into nothingness. He had to decide what to do next. Should he send out a search party or wait to see who else returns? Thinking of all in the hunting group, it was hard for him as a father to not do everything in his power to find them and bring them home no matter what. Although they were all young adults in his eyes, they were still the little children he helped to raise. Something must be done. He refused to lose any of them. Stay here. I will go speak to the chief. Father, wait. Nigel called out in a weak voice. Yes, son, he answered. They plan to kill us all. Nigel warned. No, it's much worse than that, his father replied, leaving the hut. Taka quickly made his way to the chief's hut. Being cherished in the chief's eye, he did not need a special request to enter the chief's presence. However, startled by his abruptness, the chief beside a friendly fire stared at him bewildered. Taka, old friend, what troubles you? The Nava have raided a small hunting group, and many of our children are missing. We need to gather our warriors and bring these children home, he demanded. You train them. They know how to hide until it is safe to return, the chief protested. I did not prepare them for what we will all be against, he replied. And what are we up against? Our warriors are powerful fighters, and our women are wise counselors, the chief returned. I do not have time to explain. Please, I am asking for your trust. Old friend, Taka ended up staring directly into the chief's eye, connecting with his heart. The hut fell silent for a while. Do what you need to do, but Taka, don't let that disease grow. I see it taking hold of your heart, the chief warned. Taka nodded before turning and leaving the hut. The chief's words still played in his mind. He told his people of the impending danger, asking them to prepare themselves. He then gathered some of his best trackers and warriors and kissed his wife and children before leaving. Mama, What did Papa mean by it's worse than that? What can be worse than death? Nala questioned her mother, looking out of the healing hut entrance. I will tell you when the time is right. I need you to help me with your brother. He has lost too much blood, her mother replied. Nala quickly helped her mother care for her brother. Nigel was now fast asleep. The arrow was removed, and the healing had begun. However, it would be a while before he could fight adequately again. Nala, I need you to go and collect the herbs from restocking our supplies, her mother requested. Yes, Mama. Be very careful, stay close, and don't wander too far. Yes, Mama, Nala rushed off, grabbing a nearby large leather pouch to collect herbs. She found an odd excitement building up within her and could not yet understand where it could be coming from. They weren't in a great position to be experiencing joy. Her brother barely made it back home alive. Under unfortunate circumstances, Nala took someone else's life for the first and hopefully the last time. A decision she would gladly make again to protect her people, of course. However, she couldn't help but wonder if she had made the right choice. Maybe she should have followed through with her lie and brought him back to let the chef decide what to do with him instead of taking things into her own hands. What's done is done, she thought, doing her best to settle her emotions. Why did he have to be so persistent? He should have just left us alone, she grumbled. His breathing was shallow, and a puddle of blood formed around his body. If it had not been for the ledge, he would have fallen to his death. Her last words still lingered in his mind. Although he could not move, his mind was fully aware of what had taken place. Her energy was hauntingly familiar and greatly missed. As he lay there floating in his subconscious, he thought of his life and the events that led up to what may be his slow and final end. Kalon couldn't understand the emotions swarming around him. His mind constantly drifted back to the beautiful, mysterious creature that pushed him off the cliff. How could he possess feelings for her? And what were these feelings? He thought, all baffled. Meanwhile, I'm lying here dying, and she has continued with her life without even glancing back. Does she have any feelings for me? If I survive this, I'm going after her. Kalon made his final decision. Life sprung back into him suddenly, and so did the pain. He thought about all the ones he inflicted pain on in the past and questioned himself. Is this how they felt? What if I don't make it? What if I don't survive this? Will anyone look for me? Would anyone care? Certainly not my people. Maybe one day someone will come across the stench of my rotting flesh, he pondered. I need to try. I can't just lay here and accept death. If I could just see her one more time to understand this emotion that is causing me way more pain than the physical hurt of the fall, then I'll kill her, he groaned as he turned onto his side. Surprisingly, no significant bones were broken. Cuts and gashes covered his arms and legs from the trees and branches that slowed his fall from the very start. He needed to find some way to bandage his wounds and stop them from bleeding. He slowly sat up as pain shot to the back of his head, where she had hit him with a stone. Reason number 2 is why she needed to die, he thought, searching for something to help him to his feet. He took hold of a sturdy vine as his weak and wobbly legs struggled to find their footing. Grumbling to himself, becoming increasingly angry at each new thought, Kalon pulled himself back up to the top of the cliff edge, deciding to take a moment to catch his breath and relax. How would he find her, and how would he approach her? Those are the thoughts that flooded his mind. He couldn't walk into her village wearing his obviously Nava clothing. Kalon stripped off all his clothes and threw them over the cliff's edge along with his weapons, which were difficult to let go of. He would have to fight with his bare hands or be killed if he should come under attack. But for some reason, this felt like a worthy risk in his heart. All along his way, he was finding edible fruits to feed on. He was amazed by discovering the healing benefits of the fruits. The bleeding stopped and his strength almost entirely renewed. Using large leaves and plant fibers, he fashioned for himself clothing to cover his nakedness. Survival here seemed a lot easier than back where he came from. Here everything is provided for you right at your fingertips. He found himself discovering a new feeling about this place. Peace was something he had heard of before from one of his victims. They begged for it repeatedly. Unfortunately, he had yet to learn what that was. And now, experiencing it firsthand made him feel remorseful for laughing in his victims' faces, disregarding their feelings, and missing the importance of what they were begging for. He thought about the hidden agenda of the Nava. It was essential to take over Nirvatra. The portals that lead to the human realm from Nava had all collapsed. They did everything in their power to reopen them, but nothing worked. This new plan was their last reward, something they did not want to do. Although the Nirvatrans were simple people, they made fierce warriors if pushed to the edge. They fought more than just on a physical level, something the Nava just did not want to deal with. I need to get out of this place. I don't like these feelings, these thoughts, he grumbled as he marched on, following the trail left behind by Nala and her brother. He looked up into the sky, annoyed by the constant light. Is it ever dark here? He questioned himself. His body had grown weary once more, and he needed to stop for rest. The pain was returning, and his eyelids were becoming heavy. Kalon found a large tree to sleep under. He made a bed out of leaves and made himself comfortable, covering his body as he slept in case someone passed by. He slept for hours, which eventually turned into a day. When he awoke, he was startled to find himself covered with purple ants. All gathered around his wounds, he jumped up, fearing that they were eating him alive, and began to curse as he violently brushed them all off. He did not realize that they were eating away at the bacteria and infection that was in his open wounds. Discovering a nearby river, he bathed and cleansed his wounds, finally noticing how much they had healed since he last checked on them. Again, the image of the beautiful stranger flooded his thoughts. Her long dark hair played in his memory. What is wrong with me? He thought. I hate her, she disgusts me, he continued. However, it felt like a lie. She captured his curiosity, and this both excited and angered him. Making his way out of the river and onto the banks, he squeezed out the water from his long dark hair. What if she recognizes me? He pondered. I should cut it off, he concluded. He grew upset, remembering that he had thrown away all his weapons and had nothing to cut his hair with. He searched the forest until he came across the type of stone he was searching for, breaking the crystal like rock into razor-sharp slabs and using them to cut off his hair. Satisfied that she would not recognize him now, he washed again, noticing that his wounds had healed and were no longer open but just fresh scars, recovering faster than he had ever experienced. In his heart, a war had begun. Nirvatra had awoken a dormant part of him that he never really understood and would cause him many problems at home. However, the Nava in him wants nothing to do with it and eagerly seeks a way to destroy all being awoken before it is too late.